The International Confederation of Generals, Admirals and Reserve Officers presents May 2019, Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria. On the initiative of the International Confederation of Generals, Admirals and Reserve Officers, jointly with the Reserve Officers and Non-Commissioned Officers Union of Bulgaria, and with the assistance of the Ministry of Defense of the Republic of Bulgaria, a humanitarian action mission for peace and friendship, the centenary of the end of World War I, lessons, conclusions and nowadays was held. Missions for peace and friendship are held not only to draw up certain joint decisions and outline the programs of activity, but also to meet with people, with citizens of different countries, because this kind of communication makes it possible to better understand each other. The 6th General Assembly of the International Confederation of Generals, Admirals and Reserve Officers also took place as part of the humanitarian action. Representatives and delegations from 20 countries arrived in the capital of Bulgaria. Heads of the ICO's member organizations of generals, admirals, reserve officers and veterans from Russia, the CIS countries, the Baltic states, former Warsaw Pact, NATO and the Middle East. During the Great Patriotic War and World War I, nations and their armies confronted vigorously on the battlefields. Today, veterans gathered at the same table to tell each other, we understand what the war is, we have borne its horrors. These are service members and former military personnel, including generals and officers, who can exert a profound impact to keep peace in Europe and other parts of the globe. Among the honored guests were President of the World Federation of Veterans, Dan Viggo Bergton, the Minister of Labor and Protection of Veterans and Disabled Persons Affairs, Duško Milunović, representatives of the Ministry of Defense of Bulgaria, the diplomatic corps of a number of countries, and Sofia's mayor office leadership. Today, when the international tensions are soaring, concerted efforts are needed to avert the point of no return. Over the past 8 years of ICO's Mission for Peace and Friendship traditional actions have become a hallmark of the organization. Slovakia, Russia, Austria, Kazakhstan, the French headquarters of UNESCO and Serbia's capital Belgrade hosted the events. The International Confederation has changed its name 3 times due to its status change and geography expansion. Established in 2011, the International Advisory Board united veteran organizations from 12 countries. Having gained a solid international reputation, a year later the organization brought together reservists from 25 countries throughout Europe and Asia and was renamed the International Advisory Committee. At its current 6th General Assembly, the IAC was renamed the International Confederation of Generals, Admirals and Reserve Officers. The ICO's 6th Assembly was held in Sofia at the Central Military Club of Bulgaria's Ministry of Defense. Prior to the Assembly opening ceremony, welcoming speeches and addresses to the participants were delivered by Chairman of the Reserve Officers and Non-Commissioned Officers Union of Bulgaria, Zlatan Stoikov, and Deputy Mayor of Sofia, Todor Chebanov. We welcome guests from different countries of the world in our beautiful city, and I would like to wish the participants of the significant action fruitful work and every success.
Уважаеми съмишленици, приятели и колеги, пожелавам ви ползотворна работа, а на гостите приятно изкарване в нашата столица.
Distinguished participants and organizers of the humanitarian action titled Mission for Peace and Friendship, the centenary of the end of World War I, lessons, conclusions, and nowadays, on behalf of the Minister of Defense of the Republic of Bulgaria, Krasimir Karachanov, I would like to wish you fruitful cooperation and all the best.
Заместник министър-председател по обществения ред и сигурността и министър на отбраната господин Красимир Каракачанов.
Спасибо большое. Я также благодарю высокое представительство.
I also would like to thank the High Representation on behalf of the President of the Republic of Bulgaria and the Mayor's Office of the wonderful city of Sofia. The ICO's 6th General Assembly is declared open.
Генеральная ассамблея объявляется открытой.
President of the International Confederation Alexander Kanchin's address was followed by open, honest and constructive discussions.
Наша миссия началась вчера. Вчера многие прибыли сюда.
Many of us arrived in Sofia yesterday and set to work. Meetings, communication and consultations are crucial for our activities. In recent years, our committee focused a lot on the problems of war and peace. Our committee unites 29 organizations from 27 countries and covers more than 7 million people together with veterans. Any conflict unleashed is triggered by politicians and have to be settled by the military. We are aware of death. We know what destruction is. We know and have seen our comrades die. Naturally, we have to do our utmost to prevent it. The Assembly saw over 20 speeches and presentations delivered. Obviously, the outcome of World War I will have a negative impact on the course of history for a long time to come. We are not talking about this war to emphasize victories or defeats, but to learn lessons to prevent conflicts in the future. Unfortunately, the lessons of this war did not prevent imperialism from challenging the Second World War, which brought even greater destruction and sacrifice. Under today's conditions, a scientific analysis of the causes of this war, its outcome and consequences is needed badly to draw lessons and do everything necessary to avert major world wars. Given the world's arsenal of modern weapons, the civilization may find itself on the brink of extinction. It's a great honor for me on behalf of the government of the Republic of Serbia to greet the ICO's leadership and all the delegations present here. I represent the war-tortured country that suffered heavy losses of human lives and material devastation. I wish you every success and want you to become a factor of peace for the benefit of our countries. This session was a useful exchange of experience. It was mainly focused on increasing the role and importance of veteran organizations in peace and security issues, both at home and abroad. The action was aimed to support aspirations of people of different countries and religions to speak the language of peace and mutual understanding.
By strengthening social solidarity, that we can reinforce the maintain peace and security in the long terms. It is only by prioritizing the good of society as a whole over particular and special interests.
Jordan, in spite of being a small country in a very troubled region, has worked hard to serve peace and security around the world.
The establishment of the organization had two main functions: maintaining and promoting rights and escorting the disabled in the complex rehabilitation process. From then until now, our organization has become a unique entity in this world.
Одной из целей наших совместных встреч
One of the goals of our joint meetings is an exchange of experience. Every time I return to Russia, I am a citizen of my country. Through various channels, I inform Russia's leadership, the leadership of the Ministry of Defense, about the experience that exists. The action participants unanimously believe the ICO's significance stems from trust of its members, communication and adequate assessment of the processes taking place in the world based on the championing for peace.
В настоящее время вопросы войны и мира стоят как никогда остро.
Today, issues of war and peace are more pressing than ever. It hurts me to talk about it, but the armed conflict in my homeland has been on for the 6th year. Civilians are dying in the east of Ukraine. Losses are caused by soldiers. We are grateful to all those who contribute to the peaceful resolution of the conflict and render humanitarian relief.
Я особенно хотел бы поблагодарить здесь сегодня за
Especially, I would like to thank you for the hard work, for hard cooperation, and of course for courage, because we met and talked even while some of our states were in quite a drastic confrontation. The Russian delegation also noted that the year 2020 marks the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II and the victory over fascism. Candles will be lit at the memorials of the war victims. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation decided to build the main temple of the armed forces to commemorate this significant event. It's a national project. The temple is built on donations. This is both a tradition and a common tribute to important milestones in Russian military history, the most heroic chapter of which is the Second World War. The leadership of the Ministry of Defense has authorized me to head the foundation designed to attract donations for the temple. To date, the foundation has raised more than 50 million euros. On the 9th of May next year, on the day of the 75th anniversary of the victory over fascism, the temple will be opened. We invite you all to Russia to see the construction progress, and once the temple is opened, I would like to present our foundation's banner to our host, Chairman of the Reserve Officers and Non-Commissioned Officers Union of Bulgaria. At the end of the meeting, the Confederation adopted the final document entitled Address to the Heads of States and Governments, Public, Veteran, Youth Organizations and the International Community. A number of organizational issues were also resolved during the meeting. Vice Presidents of the International Confederation of Generals, Admirals and Reserve Officers were elected Zlatan Stoykov, Chairman of the Reserve Officers and Non-Commissioned Officers Union of Bulgaria, and Milomir Miladinovich, President of the Club of Generals and Admiral Assembly of Serbia. Santiago Carrasco Diaz Massa, Deputy President of the Association of Spanish Reservists, was elected Honorary Vice President. The humanitarian action summed up the results of the amateur photo contest, Planet Earth, Our Common Home. Beauty will save the world. A presentation of the second International Film Festival of documentary films and television programs for peace without wars and military conflicts was also held. The reserve officers' organizations of our committee are highly reputed in their countries. They include members of the government, law enforcement agencies, ministries and departments, and deputies at various levels. These people are powerful. Their big voices can state that the world today is very fragile. A large-scale conflict can be unleashed in a day, and it takes decades to settle it down. Representatives from the Bulgarian Ministry of Defense, as well as heads of veteran organizations from a number of countries, were awarded with prizes, medals and diplomas for their hard work and assistance in the preparation and conduct of the mission for peace and friendship. We are deeply convinced that a realistic and comprehensive assessment of World War I and the entire 20th century will guarantee a better understanding among nations of Europe, particularly in the Balkans, where all democratic forces ought to display that history is not a humble servant of politicians. The names have changed, the geography of participants and venues of humanitarian actions and events has expanded, but the goal remains, the struggle for peace, and its method is people's diplomacy in action. The humanitarian action sparked considerable interest both in Bulgaria and among specialists and military historians. It will also draw attention of our country's leadership and the entire international community. The humanitarian action held in Sofia contributed to the further strengthening of trust, friendship and mutual understanding among reserve officers and veterans from the countries of the West and East, the Baltic states and the Middle East. The ICO has been operating for 8 fruitful years. We have a range of plans, a lot of ideas, and a lot of meetings to come and bring positive results for strengthening peace and cooperation among the nations. The International Humanitarian Action Mission for Peace and Friendship, the centenary of the end of World War I, lessons, conclusions and nowadays in Sofia, ended with a memorial action, a solemn ceremony of laying wreaths and flowers at the monument of the unknown soldier, accompanied by a military orchestra and the Guard of Honor, composed of representatives of the 3 combat services of the Bulgarian Armed Forces.